5 games on Thursday. Let's recap them all. This is actually the last recap show of the regular season. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and when I go to the airport, it's to catch a flight, not for handies. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. So if you've got a thumb, if you've got 2 of them, can I have one? Drop it on the video, subscribe, ring the bell, leave your comments if your season is still going. Absolutely, God bless. Because this is the disaster time of the season. This is terrible and it is bad and it remains bad, and I am still going to tell you that it is bad while I tell you what I think is going to happen. And that's exactly what we're here to do, is to talk about what did happen and how that might translate across to the 2 more days of games. 15 games on Friday, 15 games on Sunday, and that is it for the NBA's regular season. Of course, I'll have shows all of next week and all the way through up until the start of next season. There'll be a period of a week or 2 in the middle of the year when I do head to Summer League where I'm actually not going to be here. I'm going to be on vacation, but there'll be limited shows then. But you're going to have a lot of shows otherwise. We're going to talk playoff predictions. We're going to talk award predictions, or not necessarily award predictions, my awards, who I would give the awards to. Look back at sleepers and busts, fantasy disasters and gold mines, all that sort of stuff through the next couple of weeks. So stay around, stay tuned. Let's talk about the games from Thursday. 5 of them on. Let's get to a little bit of news. News before we get any further, because a couple of things are important. After I did the whole 15-game preview show, which is up today, you can check the streaming, guys. A few things changed. The Bucks had already ruled Giannis out. They'd already ruled Damian Lillard as doubtful. They took Chris Middleton off the injury report, and now they just dropped a psych on us. It's a total wrong number, and Middleton's questionable. Lopez is questionable for rest. Bobby Portis is questionable for rest. If you're chucking someone on late on the injury report as questionable for rest, they're not playing. There is zero reason to chuck Portis, Lopez, and Middleton back onto the injury. What are you thinking about? What's the decision here? Oh, maybe. They're not playing. Just list them out. I don't know why we're shenaniganizing it. Or maybe they do play. Maybe I'm proven wrong. It seems absolutely insane to list them as questionable. And I'll say the same for Atlanta. Atlanta rested DeJounte Murray last game. He is back on the injury report today. It's questionable with the quad. But then out of nowhere, Clint Capella popped up with a questionable tag, which wasn't there earlier in the day when their first injury report came out. So Capella is questionable. So are they just going to do the same thing last game where they limited everybody? No Jalen Johnson, obviously, no Okongwu. Probably no Capella, no Murray. Limited minutes for Trae Young. You're going to have a lot of Bruno Fernando. You're going to have the big fella, Mehmet Gay, who's going to have to play. There are, things going to happen there. What we do know is that Kawhi is out for the Clippers. Paul George is back. But James Harden is questionable, so we don't know about the utility of Russell Westbrook. His value's up, because it's up when Kawhi is out, but it could really sky again if Harden is missing. And then Brandon Ingram is out. He's out Thursday. He's out Friday. He is likely to return, Ingram, for Sunday. But be aware, these next 2 days of games, Friday and Sunday, that the resting ability or the resting decisions of teams is going to change depending on where things sit in the standings. So they might get a win on Friday or a loss on Friday that locks them in, and that changes the total idea or the total rationale behind what they do for the games on Sunday. So and Sunday is going to be disgusting. If you are watching this live, if you're watching this after the fact, if you're listening here, I want this from you. Who is the Ken Lofton of this season? The bloke who pops off out of nowhere on the final day of the season that nobody cares about, that has the big performance out of nowhere. My guess? Who is my guess? I'm going to say that it is, I don't even think like a Peyton Pritchard counts, to be honest. I'll say it's old mate Jaden Springer, actually. I'll go with Jaden Springer, who I think is going to have a pretty big one giggity in that game for the Celtics, because I don't think anybody for them is going to be playing. We're here to talk about these games, though. That's exactly what we need to do because, stuff. First game up, Bulls, Pistons. The Bulls get a win. Good for them. They are 100% locked in to their spot in the play-in. They will be taking on the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in. They cannot get into the 8 spot. They cannot move down to the 10 spot. They are hosting the first play-in game. It is locked in. And they've got 2 more games left. All right, they can't move from here. So, we get all this stuff, and there was some big performances. We had 36 DeMar DeRozan minutes in a 22-point victory. I mean, cool. 39, 4, and 7 for DeRozan. He had 3 steals. He shot unbelievably from the field and unbelievably from the line. Just a huge, huge performance from DeMar. But we don't need to see literally any minutes at all from him in these games. So I don't know if he's going to play or not. Vooch played 37 minutes. He had 27 and 11. He had 2 steals and a block. Of course, he took 2 free throws. But those numbers are all great. They're all inflated. He's not... Well, does he have to play? Maybe he does, because they have no other centers. But he doesn't need to play. They should be preserving him. I don't think Andre Drummond's playing at all this regular season. Maybe the play-in. There was no Dosunmu in this one, again. So they started Javonte Green, who I actually think's an ad. 11 and 8, steal, 2 blocks. He's going to get run here. Alex Caruso qualified for all-defensive team with the 65 games. He had 8-4 with 10 assists and 2 steals. 0 shot to me that Caruso plays tomorrow. No way. No chance in the world that he plays. None. Maybe he does. No chance. I don't know about Dosunmu. I don't know about Kobe White. Kobe White had a great comment when they asked him, what would you prefer to play? Or would you prefer to rest? He's like, bro, I just work out. Not my call. And again, as you always remember, and you want to criticize players for being lazy bums, it's not their call. So Kobe White had 18, 3, and 5. Just, there's no reason for these guys to play. They can't change their seeding. They're better off trying to preserve their health, considering that Kobe White and DeMar DeRozan, I think, are 1 and 2 in the NBA in minutes played. You probably want to just ease off on that a little bit. We'll see. So you need to watch Dalen Terry, who had 12 points. You need to watch Javon Carter, who was dusted off for 5 points. You got Adama Sanogo, who actually played 12 minutes. Maybe he's my guy. Maybe we get a 20 and 20 game with 4 blocks from Adama Sanogo on Sunday, because he might have to start, because Drummond and Vooch, they're not going to play. Surely not. For the Pistons, what the hell do I know here? Cade was out again for injury management. They did list him questionable. They almost tricked us. They almost said he was coming back. Surely Cade does not play Friday and Sunday. In fact, I'll be more critical of this team if he does play, because there is no need for him to play. My concern is not him not playing, as I've tried to be very clear about. It's the lying from the team. It's the saying, well, maybe he's not playing. It is very clearly the right decision for him not to play for everybody's perspective. Everybody knows this. But a questionable tag is garbage. So then if you play him, well, that is ridiculous. Marcus Sasser finally had a good game. 33 minutes, 20 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He has been putrid. He's been starting all these games really bad. I do not like him as a prospect, but there is an opportunity here for some decent numbers. And then we had Duran playing 31 minutes, 20 and 11. I don't think Duran plays on Friday, but I don't know about that. I think we just have to roll with Chimezie Metu. 32 minutes, 15 and 8, 3 threes. No defensive stats for 2 games in a row, which is really what have been floating his boat. But we got to go with him for these next 2 days. And Malachi Flynn, 50-point legend, had 12 points. Jim Wiseman sucked because he's bad. He had improved, but he is still bad. 2 points for him with 6 rebounds. And what else do we get? 36 Troy Brown minutes and nothing out of that. And Jaden Ivey was poor again. 46 from the field, 1 of 3 from the line, 16, 2 and 6. That's not good. How about old mate Jared Rhoden, who had 8 points with 2 threes in 18 minutes? Imagine having to think that you might have to use a Jared Rhoden in a game. We might get there. Let's hope not. Today's episode is brought to you by Stitch Fix. You put on something absolutely sparkling. You look in the mirror and you go, look at this guy. The big fella is absolutely on a roll. And you get a real shot of confidence. It's even more of a shot of confidence if someone tells you. Imagine you're walking down the street and some other bloke walks past, sexy mustache on, and goes, hey, bro, I love your outfit. How good do you feel? All right, you feel great. And that's where Stitch Fix can come in. They're not going to send a bro with a mustache to you. That's a different thing. Stitch Fix will be able to get a professional stylist to get you those clothes so you can replicate that good vibe feeling. You want to update your wardrobe? Stitch Fix does it. Send a box, 5 different items in it. You tell them your size, style preferences, budget preferences. They send all the items meticulously selected from the ongoing fashion trends, or even the new trends, whatever trends you want. If it doesn't fit, or you don't like it, which again, it's not going to happen. But if it does, returns, exchanges, delivery, it's free, and it's always free. So get that warm and fuzzy going with style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/locked-on. 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 Today's episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships in fantasy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. They've got over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. So you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the old eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. It's a real simple equation. You might not know much about your car like me, but whatever parts you want, maybe you want to grab something to just up the aesthetic value. That might be there as well. Is that roof racks? Is it something that's hanging down from your rearview mirror? Is it fire emojis painted onto the hood? Whatever it is that makes it go better, I'm all here for it. An eBay Guaranteed Fit, if your part doesn't fit your ride every time, well, it's guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easier to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Actually, I'm not sure if your car can be the MVP. Hasn't played 65 games. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to US customers. I really hate it when my car load manages. Let's talk about the next game. Boston, New York. Any game involving the Celtics means nothing at this point, really. We did have a lineup change. Kristaps Porzingis returned, and Xavier Tillman went back to the bench. And a stunning development, the Boston load managers, everybody played. That should make you think that in the final two games that nobody is going to play. But I don't know. I wish I knew. But everybody played. Did they play well? Absolutely not. But they played. The Knicks win 118-109. This game was this much of a blowout that Josh Hart played 32 minutes. He did have 16 and 16 with 5. This run of Josh Hart deciding he can now score is ridiculous. What a run. Josh Hart was unrosterable for 2.5 months this season. And then they cleared out a bunch of guys and everyone got hurt and he's just taken off. He's been ridiculous. For the season, Josh Hart is not a top 125 player per game. Because he was trash for months. And like we talked about, and this is a very important lesson for those 4 of you still watching, that when we talk about stuff like in the preseason, we look at these things. When we talked about the Knicks, when we talked about Hart, we talked about Quickly, we talked about DiVincenzo, the overwhelming thing was there are not enough minutes and touches for these guys to go around to have enough value, so I'm not considering them. They were all like 130, 170, 160 ranked players. Not worth it. Quickly traded. OG hurt, Randall hurt, the minutes are there, they produce. It's not about whether they're bad or not, it's about where do they actually play. And you're seeing that play out here. Like Dante DiVincenzo, he was getting like 21 minutes a night. He played 41 here, he had 17, 4, and 4. Anunoby, just the 26 minutes, he no need to extend him further, he was a plus 20. He had 12 and 5, while Hartenstein played 33 minutes, 11, 13, and 6 with 2 blocks. I love seeing those minutes. Brunson had a bit of a trip to the locker room at the end, but I don't think there's anything to worry about there. 39 for him. On absolutely elite shooting. And they did bring Precious Achiuwa back into the rotation. 16 minutes for the big sneeze. He had 2 points. He is undoubtedly bad. And Juice McBride had 2 points as well. People are still rostering Juice McBride. I'll guess that he's just sitting on rosters on teams that aren't playing anymore.
Get that garbage out of here.
What I said for the Celtics, like, what do we do here? Like, everybody played, but did they? Like, Porzingis played 25 minutes. He had 14 and 8. Horford played 16 minutes. He had 6 points. Drew Holiday had 7 points in 29 minutes. Derek White had 2 points in 29 minutes. Jaylen Brown had 15 points in 29 minutes. We had basically 14 minutes or so of garbage time. You can see Jaden Springer, Svi Mykhailiuk, 12 minutes, 47 seconds each. And then you had Cornette playing 7 minutes and Tillman playing 6 minutes. But a ton of garbage time. The game was over. Halfway through the third, they just bench guys. So we got big minutes out of Sam Hauser, who, well, not big, well, big-ish. 15 points, 3 threes, 4 rebounds, because normally he'd be an 18-minute guy on a fully healthy squad, and Pritchard played extra minutes too because he'd normally be that player too. He had 21 minutes for 16, 4, and 6. But they were considered good enough to sort of hold out and then run with a lot of Mahai, and Springer instead. I think you have to think that Al Horford has zero chance of playing on Friday. Porzingis is no way playing that game on Friday. I'd say Drew Holiday is probably not playing on Friday either. I would also suggest that Jaylen Brown is probably not playing. In fact, I am listing all 4 of those guys, Porzingis, Horford, Holiday, and Brown, as doubtful at the moment for Friday. Tatum, I'm not sure about. It would make sense for him to sit a game here coming up. Derek White, I'm not sure about either, but there is no way Horford and Porzingis play. None. It's just not going to happen. Why would that? It would be absolute malpractice for them to play. Same with Drew Holiday. No reason for him to play. And Jaylen Brown dealing with an alleged wrist issue on a back-to-back with nothing to play for with 2 games left in the regular season. There is no reason for him to play. I would say I wouldn't play Tatum or White either, but we'll see what they do there. So there are going to be big Hauser, big Pritchard, maybe Cornette, maybe a guy like Springer, big opportunities, or Mahai, big opportunities. You might have 5, 6 guys sitting out on Friday, and that is why that's the only, which we knew in advance, because that's the only thing that matters for the Celtics at the moment is preserving those players. But I think if you've got those big name guys in fantasy, they're just not going to play on Friday, would be my guess. I don't really see them doing anything different. Doesn't really make sense for them to do anything different. So that's why I don't think they will. Today's episode is brought to you also by FanDuel. It is playoff time in the NBA, well, almost, and in the NHL. Baseball season is off and running, and FanDuel is your place, not your bet. It's your best bet to bet on all the games. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That is $150, win or lose. It doesn't matter. Just put a bet on, and then you get $150 in bonus bets. What a W that is. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Now, the next game in what is somewhat of a minor miracle, the Jazz win. Wow, I don't think they've won since February. 124-121 over the Rockets. Let's start with the Rockets, who had everybody available they usually do. VanVleet was fantastic. He played 40 minutes. 42 and 7, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and 9 triples. Shot 30 times, 40%, 9 of 10 from the line. He has had a really, really strong run here to end the season, VanVleet, but at the start of the game or before the game, Ime Udoka did say that they were debating what they were going to do with their veterans the final 2 games, so just be aware of that. What we wanted to see was, would Amen Thompson be able to play 30-plus minutes when Whitmore is there? And the answer is yes. 35 minutes for Amen, 15 and 10 with 4 assists and 2 steals. The problem here is that it was Jalen Green who didn't play. Green played 19 minutes because, once again, he sucks. Oh no. 3 points, 14% shooting, 1 rebound, 1 assist, minus 23. He was dreadful here. Now, obviously, he has been much better. But we say that, and he's the 141st ranked player over the last 2 weeks. Like, it was a nice run, man, when you were the 2nd ranked player for a couple of weeks. It was great, but we're back to nonsense again. Yeah, okay. Not sure what that means for next. Well, I sort of do. Is that, a 3-week run of good play does not erase 200 games of badness. As for Cam Whitmore, let's go. 27 minutes, 18 points, 4 threes, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks. Normally, he's a points and threes guy. He's adding blocks, he's adding assists, which he never does. Maybe he sits tomorrow. It's a back-to-back, obviously, and he's been coming off his knee injury. But this is the future of this team. It's Whitmore and Amen, and Jabari. It's the future, I think. I'm not sure that Jalen is. I think these 2 guys are really interesting. I do think there is a risk of Cam not playing Friday, but I think he could have an absolute monster one on Sunday. And we love what Amen did here. We also got big minutes out of Jock Landale. Because Jalen didn't play as much, so Amen wasn't playing that sort of big man role as often. We had 27 minutes from Landale. He had 9, 1, and 2 with a steal and a block. We're not adding him. Jabari only 26 minutes. Not good there. 7 and 3 with 2 blocks. He still remains like a little iffy. And then Dylan Brooks had been playing well. He did not. He had 29% shooting for 8 points. He's also 1 technical foul away from a suspension. So if he gets a tech on Friday, he will not play Sunday. He just might not play Sunday anyway. So be aware that we could get big Whitmore, big Thompson minutes coming. the thing is, they don't have many other really young prospects to look at. You could be getting like Jonathan Williams, old Nate Williams, I was going to say the second, but no, it's Jonathan Williams Jr., Nate Williams. Jermaine Samuels could be getting minutes here. Nate Hinton. These are the blokes they have. Like, their prospects are Eason and Şengün, who are out. And then it's Green, Whitmore, Thompson, and Smith, and they're already getting parts of the rotation. So it is a little bit weird in that sense. Now, on the Jazz side, prior to my Thursday streaming show, the last two guys that I had as the thumbnail were Malginha Pereira, whose contract expired and wasn't renewed before the game, so he didn't play. And the next day it was Jordan Goodwin, who got G League assigned and didn't play. So then my one for Thursday was Luka Šamanić. What if the Jazz screw me? Nah, Šamanić was playing good minutes, 33 minutes, 22 points for Luka. He had 6 rebounds. Now, unfortunately, he shot just 41%, but those numbers are enough. We also got another big one from Taylor Horton Tucker. Horton Tucker had 29 minutes, 16, 5 and 5, 2 blocks and 39%, and this might be the first game they've won where he's played. With the fact that we don't expect that Collins, Kessler, Clarkson, or Dunn, or even Sexton play again, Horton Tucker is going to get a lot of minutes, and we've got to use him, I think, at this point. Now, if Sexton plays, he probably won't see minutes, but we use him for now. Only 19 minutes for Taylor Hendricks, which is pretty frustrating. He had one foul there, but he did bring defensive stats. 3 steals and a block, but only 5 points in 19 minutes. That's pretty annoying. But we got big Ken Lofton minutes. Like, previously, it had been Darius Baisley who was getting all that shine, and Baisley still played 23. But we got 27 minutes from Lofton. 14, 9 and 5, 2 steals and a block. It's undeniable that they are good numbers. I still don't think that he's an NBA caliber player, but they are good numbers. And if we knew that he was getting big minutes, we would 100% use him. And you could consider it Friday. I'm still a little iffy on where the minutes sit, but that's really good. Bryce Sensabaugh, pretty strong game, 17, 6 and 3 with 4 threes. And John Juzang just is absolutely not an NBA player. 10 points for him in 24 minutes, starting in place of Sexton. Again, I do not expect Sexton or Kessler or Collins or Clarkson or Dunn to play either Friday or on Sunday. So the guys we've got here are the guys they've got. Again, the problem is, like, where did the minutes lie? Like, I mean, Yurtseven played 19 minutes and had 10 and 5, and they went to more Lofton. And we got Michael Potter playing 8 minutes. So it's a little bit all over the place. It is still hard to trust on an individual game basis. Let's do the final 2 games here. The Pelicans make it a clean sweep over the Kings. 5 wins, 0 losses. Obviously, that tiebreaker is very much in their favor now. They win at 135-123. Well, they already had the tiebreaker. What am I talking about? Big win for New Orleans, especially considering that in the first half, Zion was dealing with a wrist problem. We don't know. He went back to the locker room, but he was able to return. He was able to play it out, and they get the win. Zion played 31 minutes. He had 31, 4 and 6 with 3 steals and a block. What we need to do with Zion next year is going to be really interesting, because if he plays on Friday and Sunday, he will have played 70 games. And for all of the criticisms of Zion, there was one season where he played 61 out of 72 games, and he could play 70 out of 82 this season. So what do we do? And his production is actually way up. From a category league perspective anyway. Huge numbers here. Christian James McCullum played 40 minutes. 31 points. He hit 9 triples. He had 7 assists and 2 steals. When he was terrible. And then Ingram got hurt. And then he's been awesome. It's been a huge... He was playing like 29 minutes a night. Couldn't shoot. Ball was out of his hands. Ingram gets hurt, turning on a massive run. It's been massive. He's top 15 over the last 2 weeks. Trey Murphy played 45 minutes. He had 27, 5 and 4 with 6 threes, while Dyson Daniels, the dustbuster, he added a steal. That's what you want. Not much else there, 10 and 4. Well, Valanciunas, with no Larry Nance, we got big Valanciunas minutes, which is really interesting. 13 and 10 in 33 minutes. That's not a good game, but it is good to see those minutes. While Herb Jones, this is downturned Herb Jones time. 6 assists is great, but 5 and 5, no defensive stats. He's 213th over the last 5 games. We have seen this story with Herb many times. He will go on a top 30 run at some point, but probably not enough time for that to happen. This is, if you want to drop Herb, because what are we doing here? Like, he can play better, obviously, but it's not happening at the moment. So it's not holding on for what happens in 3-4 weeks' time. This win from the from the Pelicans puts them probably, like, they're a game ahead of they can't catch the Mavericks, obviously, but it puts them very much, let me have a look. I think they can't move down into the 8 seed. So they're out. Well, they're not fully locked into the playoffs yet because they're one game ahead of the Suns. So they're one more, and then they are home, I believe. That's how I'm reading that. All right. So they're going to go big, you would imagine, these other games. For the Kings, Keegan Murray was questionable again, but he played. He had 9, 10, and 5 with 2 steals, which is fine. The pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Barnes had 22, 5, and 5, and that 5 and 4, and that brings him to 251st over the last 2 weeks to show you how bad he's been going. Do not bite on this. De'Aaron Fox sprained his ankle late in the game. He stayed in. He played 41 minutes. He had 33, 5, and 8 with 2 steals. While the Keon Ellis roller coaster continues. 5 points, 23 minutes, no defensive stats, no assists, 1 rebound. Like we've said all along, trying to predict when he has a good game is impossible. If you do invest in Keon, you just have to say I'm holding for 3 weeks and get enough good out of that. But it's like, how do I know? Will he be good tomorrow? He might be. Sunday? No, I don't know. It's very, very hard to hold on. Sabonis got his double-double here. 18 and 10 in 35 minutes, but was relatively mid. And after such a strong year, he's 75th over the last 2 weeks. Really failing down the stretch here in terms of overall production. Pretty good game from Davion Mitchell. He outplayed Alice. He had 13, 2, and 5, but I wouldn't be super interested in grabbing him. Final game of the day, the Warriors and the Blazers. This was a game where we did have lineup changes. We had multiple from the one team. Draymond was out, Clay was out, John Kuminga replaced Draymond, and then Steve Kerr told us that Chris Paul was going to start in place of Klay Thompson, and then the Warriors tweeted out that Brandon Podziemski was starting in place of Klay Thompson, and in the end it was Chris Paul who started in place of Klay Thompson. I don't know how long their foreseeable futures lasted in this one, but we eventually got back to the right result, even though there was a switcheroo. In the middle, the Blazers going with the same lineup as they've been going with. The Warriors do win 100-92. The Blazers were up in the fourth quarter. Jackson Davis played 27 minutes. He had 10 and 8 with 4 blocks. He's just a must-roster guy. I wouldn't say he played at his best today. Kevon Looney actually outplayed him, but the stats are still there, and Jackson Davis is going to get those looks. While Steph was inefficient, 36%, but 22, 7, and 8 with 2 blocks is a great game. As for Looney, exhumed here with Draymond out. He had 9 and 11 with 2 steals and 4 blocks. Just count your lucky stars if for some reason you use Looney, because he never does this. And I don't think we're adding him here. While Kuminga, the bucket had 9 and 6, and Wiggins had 15 and 5 with a steal and 2 blocks. And you probably still do want both of those guys. Even though Chris Paul started, he was relatively mid, 8, 3, and 4. I think he might actually sit tomorrow, to be honest. So I'd be okay dropping him. And Podziemski had 9, 3, and 4 in 33 minutes. I don't think we need to be holding on to those guys necessarily. For the Blazers, the Snowman DeAndre Ayton did it again, 25 and 11 with 3 steals and a block for Frosty, and we actually got a good game out of Jabari Walker. Now, this man gets rebounds like no tomorrow. He had 17 points, though, to go with him. Now, he didn't shoot well, 43%, but he had a steal, he had 2 threes. That's a much better game from Walker. We know what he does. And Scoot Henderson, double-digit assisted again. Again, it's very hard to look at everything that's going on with this team and understand any sort of path for the future of how we read all of this stuff. But 18, 3, and 12 with 2 steals is the backbone. It's the skeleton of a very good fantasy performance. Now, he shot 20 times and had 35% shooting, which is obviously rancid. But Scoot should be rostered. Chris Murray, back-to-back solid games. He played a lot of minutes, 45 of them. He had 14, 4, and 2 with a steal and a block. And in this one, we had no Jeremy Grant, and then Delano Banton was ruled out. So we got Ashton Hagens back in the mix, and we did get the 29 minutes out of Justin Monet. Now, we didn't get a good game. He had 3 points in 14% shooting with 2 assists, and Raul Repair did absolutely nothing. 2 and 4 in 29 minutes. I don't know if Banton's injury is going to keep him out tomorrow. I know that Jeremy Grant is, and then we'll see what they do. But this is the group that they've got. We know we're using Scoot, we're using Walker probably, we're using Ayton, we're using Banton if he's available. We'll see. Does Ayton actually play these final 2 games? It's pretty amazing if he does. And then we'll see what these other guys do. But we're always just keeping a quick eye on Dwop Reith to be streamed in the situation where Ayton does sit out. But overall, they lose. The Warriors win. Where does that put the Warriors in these standings? So that puts them equal with the Lakers. This really is a battle to see who gets the home court in the 9-10 game. And, actually, wow. So hang on. They're all equal with the Kings. All these teams are 45 and 35. So, theoretically, one of those teams can still get into the double chance slot of the play-in and get to... That's what you all want. So the Warriors, the Lakers, and the Kings are going to have to go hard here, at least for Friday. It might get decided on Friday as to who gets that 8th slot, but that is a big difference being 9 or 10, or even between being 9 or 10 is a difference between those two, but being 8 or 10 is a gigantic difference here in the play-in. You just got to keep winning. But now they are all equal in that slot. Interesting stuff. Let's look at the lines of the night to wrap this show up. Who was the monstrous today? Let's go think about where the Warriors sit tomorrow, because they got the back-to-back in terms of those standings. So obviously they need to win, but they rested Clay and Draymond in this one. They play the Pelicans tomorrow, so I would imagine, is everyone going to be healthy? Does Chris Paul sit on the back-to-back? I don't know. But they need the win, because they can push, and they can sit guys on Sunday against the Jazz, but they can win both of these games, the Warriors, and get themselves into the 8. Okay, that's interesting. The monstrous line of the night is DeMar DeRozan. Him and Fred VanVleet were neck and neck. DeRozan gets it here, 39.7 assists and 3 steals. Your waiver wire line of the night, the best performer that's available just everywhere. And we are going to go with this one into Houston, because Cam Whitmore had 18 points. He had 2 blocks. He had 4 rebounds. And he had 4 assists. Your young gun of the night is not, in fact, Cam Whitmore, because there was a player that was better than him, who was a first or second year player. Unfortunately, this guy is just not available in as many leagues to be counted for the waiver wire. And that's Trace Jackson-Davis, who had the 10 points, the 8 rebounds, and the 4 blocks. And then lastly, we swing in to the dud of the night, the worst performance of the day. This one should be relatively easy to know. It is the Jollibee legend himself, Jollibee Jalen Green, who had 3 points, 1 rebound, and 1 assist. The top 6 players from all of the action on Thursday. The last top 6 list we're doing for the year. For category leagues, number 1, DeMar DeRozan, Fred VanVleet, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson, De'Aaron Fox, and Trace Jackson-Davis. Your top 6 under 50% rostered players. Cam Whitmore, probably worth looking at. I talked about maybe he sits on the back-to-back earlier. He played their last back-to-back, so he should be good to go. Harrison Barnes, I don't trust it. Kevon Looney, I don't trust it. Marcus Sasser, Taylor Horton-Tucker, while I think they are bad, there are big opportunities for them. Same with Ken Lofton, although Lofton was a DNP last game. So does he get the 27 again? Because Sasser, Horton-Tucker, and Lofton could be useful enough on Friday and on Sunday. And lastly, for Yahoo points, your top performers, number 1 was Fred VanVleet, followed by DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, and De'Aaron Fox. Like I said at the top, that is the last recap show for this season. We will still have a preview show for Sunday's 15-game slate to try and get you those final stream options in to win that championship. But I'm not doing a recap game after Sunday's 15 games. I am taking, unbelievably, that day off. So I will not be recording anything for that day. But there will be a preview show for Sunday's 15-game action. So be on the lookout for that. I don't need to do a Week 25 preview because that week doesn't exist. So I will have that day off, so there'll be no show coming out Sunday, but there will be shows coming out straight after that for the rest of that week with more stuff coming. But that is the last recap show, so thank you to everyone for being here during the season, watching all of these shows we've done. Again, don't go away. We've got a lot of stuff that's going to happen, but thanks for being a part of everything that we have done during the season. And if you are still here, and if you've got a spare thumb, I'd like it. Thumb it up, ring the bell, leave your comments, and of course, that big old subscribe button, that's what you got to go knock out. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.